Well, g'day and welcome to a special edition of Tiiger Talk. My name's Jono Venn, and joining me, as always, is my trusty sidekick. I suppose we're equals, but sidekicks nonetheless. Rob Winstone, how are you, mate?
I'm pretty good, mate. So I'm a little bit, I guess, on one leg at the minute, but my spirits are high. That's the main thing.
Quite literally, yes. You've had a fair, interesting couple of weeks. I tell you, I could not imagine to be in your position, with both the ACL and PCL. Don't think it's ever happened in a footy game, but it can certainly happen in a skating bowl. Just fill the viewers in on what's happened.
Yeah, mate. So, how many days ago now? We're going to 17 days ago. I thought it was Tony Hawk, and I've been watching the original Tony Hawk game has just come out. Tony Hawk 1 and 2 on PS4. And back in the day on PlayStation 2 in 2001, 02, 03, 04, I was playing that game religiously, going skating religiously. And at the age of 32, I've sort of got back into it recently. And I've been skating for about 6 months now, back and enjoying it, and probably tried something I shouldn't have tried. And unfortunately, my leg blew out as I've landed directly straight on my right leg. And if all the Richmond fans can remember, round 10, 2005, when Nathan Brown snapped his leg after a Melbourne player I think it was Whelan, smothered the ball, and the bones were protruding. Well, you just think of that, my whole knee was protruding out to the left side of my right knee towards my left leg. So it was pretty horrific, and the surgeons are likening it to a motorcycle accident at 100 kilometres an hour, so not to a skateboard accident. So ACL, PCL, and unfortunately dislocated kneecap. But I'm in good spirits, and 17 days on, a lot of pain, but the spirits are high, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good to find a lockdown hobby, a thing to do as a Victorian, but unfortunately, that's one of the things that can go wrong for you when you go almost to the nth degree. With extreme sports like that. Well, I suppose you could call it an extreme sport, especially in your case. But first, let's talk about how the home and away season went, just in general, or whether it's about Richmond. But I can tell you, it's been certainly an up and down roller coaster ride. I mean, started off with no crowds at the MCG, which I'm used to at this time of year when there's Shield cricket on, but it was a little bit eerie watching an AFL game at home at my grandmother's place. She just lives out the back, and we're watching the game and there's nobody there. It was just fascinating. What were your thoughts on that, Robbie?
Look, it took some getting used to, I guess. The fact that we haven't been to a game all year, I don't think I've not attended a footy game since about 1992 or something. So it's been a long time between drinks, Jono. But one thing I can say, it was great on the weekend, mate, to experience, even though I was sitting at home, seeing crowds back up in the northern states, which was a real positive. And I think Queensland's done a really great job in getting back football and into the position where you can have crowds. And I think the Gabba and the Queensland government have done a fantastic job. Great to see the crowds back, and also great to see 4 finals, which are real classics, and the Adelaide Oval hosting a crowd as well for Port Adelaide. So, Look, as much as it sucks for us Victorians, I tell you what, it's good to see other people enjoying footy when, we probably took for granted how good we've got it down here, usually in Melbourne. So, fantastic to see, mate.
It does get a little bit... jealousy does tend to kick in a fair bit, especially, towards New South Wales, who, while they don't host any sport, you can still go to the pub. But so as the season progressed, it was, interesting listening to the fake crowd noises, some of which we've utilised in our calls fairly recently. You got to love those American baseball crowds that we managed to sneak in, and they actually work quite well. So if you didn't know we use crowd noises in our recent calls, then there you have it. That's an exclusive first. And then came the endless discussions of how we could possibly get a season back on track, and I was so glued to the cases. It was just bizarre. I mean, I'm not necessarily glued to the COVID cases, but the other things, the insider information that not many people talk about. But I tell you, Robbie, how many how many episodes of Footy Classified do you reckon you watched as as Channel 9 and the crew debated as to how they could get a season on? Because I thought it was just bizarre. They just went on and on and on. It just seemed a little bit too repetitive, don't you reckon?
Yeah, well, it's a very intriguing panel they got up there. Matty Lloyd, Caro, Eddie jumps on there, and Hutchie sometimes as well. Kane Corns also. They sort of do a rotating roster. But, yeah, they do tend to waffle on the Channel 9 crew, but, they give good insight, and it's, I guess, when we didn't have any football, anything to watch at the time was better than nothing. So they kept it relevant, and for ratings and stuff, I suppose they just had to talk about how we all got it up and running, and eventually we did. And as I just mentioned, that Brisbane, thanks to Queensland, they basically saved the season. Well, they did save the season, and it's amazing that they've been so, I guess, professional in the way they've gone about it. And the AFL should really thank their lucky stars. We had the Queensland government really embrace, I guess, predominantly it's Australia's game, but predominantly it's mainly popular in, the states of Victoria and South Australia. So, huge for football up in Queensland.
Yeah, hopefully a lot of the people watching who are rugby league fans, they weren't too confused. And I wonder if there were any rugby league fans there, but gee, that would have been interesting. But yeah, so as the season progressed, once again we went into the debate about halves, and there was the idea of floating about footy being every single day, which surprisingly was a little bit earlier on in the year, that idea being floated. But the idea came to fruition, and we ended up seeing footy on footy on footy on footy. It's great for the Big Bash, but I don't think it worked out well. I suppose from a supporter's point of view, a little bit too much sport every day. If you consume sport, it does get a little bit hard to watch. I mean, what were your thoughts on that, Robbie? I mean, day after day watching footy. Were you a fan of it?
Look, I think, as you just pointed out there, Jono, I think you do need a bit of a break from sport. I think just generally life moderation's key, and no matter what you do in life, I think we had 20 straight days of football at one point, and as much as it's great to have live, it gives you something to watch, fantastic. But I think the standard of football was too unpredictable as well. You didn't look forward to it as much. I found myself falling asleep a lot of the time at halftime during the games because, depending on who was playing, some of the games were pretty awful to watch and pretty hard to watch at times. So, look, I understand why it had to be done. Obviously we missed about, I think it was 9 weeks or whatever it was at the start of the year, or 13 weeks to catch up. We eventually got there. We caught up on the season. Would it be, a way to do footy in the future? I don't think so. I think, to go back to a traditional sort of, I think footy works between Thursday night and Sunday,
Absolutely.
But to be honest, I would probably just about scrap footy on a Sunday as well. I mean, I reckon the best time to watch sport is Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. So Sunday isn't always the best time for sport. I reckon that should be like more of a family day. But yeah, I reckon, between Thursday and Sunday, and then have the break between, Monday and, like we've had games on a Monday night throughout the last decade, and it doesn't really work. And look, I understand for this year it had to be done, but I hope we don't see that sort of cramming of football in the future, because it ruins the product in a way. It's just too much. You need a break. Yeah, and as I said before, just moderation in everything that you do.
Assuming everything goes according to plan with the way we get out of this particular issue of COVID-19, apparently I hear on the rumor mill they're looking to have extra games at the MCG in lieu of, the thing that happened this year with all the hubs. I mean, seriously, would you really want the interstate teams to come at the MCG, given the amount of people that complain? For instance, Geelong. I mean, they're not an interstate team, but they still complain a lot about playing at the MCG. West Coast don't like it, but then again, it's actually going to be a very, I suppose, valuable experience for them to play at the MCG continually, given, perhaps it might be an advantage for them come finals. But speaking of finals, let's talk about the week just gone. It was fairly eye-catching footy, to say the least. Not on Richmond's behalf, but we'll get onto that in a moment. Robbie, what was your favourite moment of the weekend?
Well, I'll tell you what, Kane Corns said they're just making up the numbers, and that being the Collingwood Magpies. Eddie Maguire came out and said, "We are the trailer trash. We are the dirty Magpies. We're from Victoria Park." And I said this even in my own little video that I do for WSM, ride the Magpies off at your own peril. The players that they brought back in, they were up against it. They were staying in bloody camper vans out the front of Perth Stadium, and it was always a danger game for West Coast. And come of the moment, come of the man. He's done this before in other big finals, i.e. a man by the name of Mason 6'7" Cox, 6'10" Cox, who is from a big state of Texas in America. And didn't he just tear it up in that first quarter? Unbelievable. He just absolutely teared. They led by 3 goals a quarter time. And obviously West Coast always came back to the game, but for them to steady in that last quarter, Magpies, when they're up against it, West Coast hit the front after being 2 goals down at 3/4 time, hit the front, and then Magpies, just somehow just found a way to win. And that's what good footy clubs do. They found a way against all the odds, and that was the only tip I got from the weekend. So the Magpies win was my favourite moment of round 1 of the finals.
I was just off to bed that night and couldn't help but tune into the last couple of minutes. And gee, the heart was racing at what Jack Higgins said, 1,000 minutes a second, I think it was. And I'll tell you what, it was heart racing stuff. It was incredible. But the same went for the Saints against the Dogs, which was my highlight. The Saints winning a final. It was, I'll tell you what, the Saints, they're pretty high up on my list apart from Richmond. And given this is 2020, you can really barrack for anybody, given the strange nature of this year alone. But I tell you what, it was good to see the Saints get up early and then clinch a victory against the Doggies by 3 points. But the downside of that, of course, was Paddy Ryder's injury. It was very unfortunate to see him emotional on the bench, and we send our best wishes to him as he sits on the sidelines, and hope all the best in that regard. But I tell you what, it's going to be a very interesting matchup tomorrow night if you're watching this on a Thursday, which is when we've released this, against us, the Richmond Tigers. Oh, gee, I'm a little bit nervous given that we haven't beaten a side that Brett Ratten has coached as long as Dimmer Hardwick coaches the Tigers. How nervous are you, Robbie, in terms of the Brett Ratten factor?
Look, I think that's probably not really a true reflection of the head-to-head. Yes, Ratten has coached them to 7-0, but let's be honest, 6 of those wins came when Ratten was at Carlton. Hardwick started in 2010. Ratten got removed at the end of 2013. So 6 of those wins came between 2010 and 2013. In 2010, Richmond finished second last. 2011, I think we finished about 14th. 2012, we finished 11th. And 2013, we made a final. So I think those stats are a little bit not fair because Richmond had a pretty shocking record against Carlton in that time. So I think even earlier in the year when the Saints knocked us off, let's be honest, there's going to be about 7 players that didn't play that game. Richmond's been in good form all year. The fact that for the Saints, Out goes, as you said, Paddy Ryder with I think a hamstring strain. Out goes Carlisle with the birth of his third child, and he's flying back to Melbourne. And Long through a high bump, a suspension of 1 week, which is at the tribunal as we speak, and we're going to see how that one goes. But there's 3 huge out for the Saints. What did you say, mate?
Yep. Haven't seen anything just yet in regards to that, but we'll keep you posted, as you've probably already seen this at the time of watching. But I tell you what, Carlton will forever rue the day that they sacked the great man Brett Ratton, and it, it's great to see. It's great to see him have success both at Hawthorn and the Saints, obviously. But oh gee, I'm a little bit nervous. But all long-standing records are made to be broken. For instance, Richmond losing for the first time since 2009 at the Gabba, and just like the 7-game winning streak that Brett Ratton has over Damien Hardwick, well, that might be broken as well. Looking very forward to that. But let's talk about the game. Richmond versus Brisbane. Oh, gee, have you ever seen... Well, let's say over the past couple of years, have you ever seen a more ill-disciplined Richmond side? Not going to sugarcoat it, but have you ever seen that, Robbie?
I think this is what I think I'm a mad Tiger, everyone knows that, but I think from a neutral standpoint, I've rewatched this game and I think Richmond weren't used to the fact that, well, number one, Brisbane, just in general play, Richmond had a spurt in that first quarter where they completely outplayed Brisbane for about 10 minutes. And they took their chances more so than Brisbane did. But I still felt that Brisbane had more control of the game just in the general play and around the ground. Richmond just really took their opportunities in that first quarter. And then it was a bit of a seesaw in the first 5 minutes of the second quarter. But I felt after that, Brisbane's tackling pressure especially around the ball, on the ball, their clearances, they outscored Richmond in clearances 37-16. So there's the ball game right there. But in saying that, they gave away 2 50-metre penalties, one from one from the centre bounce, and their ruckman got the ball, kicked a goal. And then right at the end of that, to really take the wind out of Richmond's momentum, well, not that they had the momentum, but they were only 7 points down. Marlon Pickett, or someone go away 50, and then Marlon Pickett decides to deck one of the Brisbane players, their captain. Lockie Neal goes back and goes bang from 50 at half time, and then all of a sudden Richmond 13 points down, and then it continued in the third quarter. Brisbane, their tackling pressure, they were winning the clearances, they controlled the half back line. Every time Richmond, it was just a long bomb up and under hope kick, and I think that's where Richmond really missed Tom Lynch, and they thought they'd be able to sort of get that 2017 game style going again. But Harris Andrews and the like down back, Mitch Robertson even really played a really negating role on a couple of the Richmond mids. And yeah, it was just too little too late. And even though Richmond surged in the last quarter, mate, 15 points, we never really, if we had to snatch that game, honestly, I would have felt sorry for the Brisbane Lions, because on the night, they outplayed us. We weren't the better side on the night. And yeah, they got away with the win, Brisbane, but I'll tell you what, they should have put us away a lot earlier than they did. But, and I don't think Damien Hardwick will let that happen 2 weeks in a row.
A couple of left field takes from that game, well, perhaps only one. It's safe to say that Trent Cotchin has the week off of, with the nappy changing, as is the policy at the Richmond Footy Club. If you give away a 50, you have to change Parker Fox Cotchin's nappies, and fair enough. And there was a lot of 50-metre penalties, some in succession. So that was a great policy on hand of one of the great footy dads of the country, Damien Hardwick. So your prediction, Robbie, ultimately with that game, Richmond, and by how much, if you want to make that call?
Yeah, I think Richmond are going to get pretty. They always talk about the Richmond way, the Richmond style of play. The Richmond, I guess, yellow and black, what it means to play for the Tigers, and I think Richmond are going to come out, and I think it's fair to say, Jono, that they'll be hurting you a fair bit. There's going to be a couple of changes, I'm hearing. Jake Arts, unfortunately, didn't perform in his first final. He's been great all year, but probably maybe under the pressure of it all. So I think maybe Nathan Broad will come in this week, possibly. I've got a good feeling about that. And the fact that at least two of those players that I mentioned before, Carlisle and Paddy Ryder, are out of the side and most likely to Long. I think Long will get the week, basically because he's had a history of bumping late. I don't think if it was his first warning, I don't think he would get a week, but I think because he's got a history of it, I think he's going to cop the week, but we'll wait and see. But I think Richmond by 30 plus. The Saints aren't at the same level as the Tigers at the moment, and I think they're going to probably throw it, give it their best shot for maybe a quarter and a half, but I think over a 4-quarter game, Richmond's going to be simply too good.
30 points, gee, that's a big call. We'll wait and see about that. Well, I tell you what, the selection table is one of those things where it can be a very difficult decisions that are made on account of whether it's Jake Hartz or, well, I was hoping Mubby or Chol would get the axe. Oh, I tell you what, he was weak in the forward line, but that just goes to show with finals experience. I was actually okay with Jake Hart's performance, but would be nice to see a bloke by the name of Jack Ross get a run in finals. He's he missed out on both an AFL and VFL grand final berth, and not to mention a medal around his neck. But I remember speaking to him at the end of last year's grand final, and you know what? He seemed as resilient as ever, and I tell you what, he's going to be a very determined man in the next couple of seasons. He will probably end up captaining the side after either Tiiger Floston or perhaps even Trent Cotchin. Who knows? He was a young captain at the same stage in his career. You never know. Could be a very interesting situation on that front. So, again, notable outs for the Saints. Long's suspension hearing at the time of this recording. There's still 6 minutes into deliberation, and we don't have a decision yet, but we'll let you know. Of course, you already know, but we'll let you know when that happens because it's news to us. And also Paddy Ryder. Not sure if I mentioned Jake Carlisle. I did. I might not have. But, Jake Carlisle's admission seems to be very interesting. There's been a lot of talk about when one should do the I suppose the necessary things required to have a baby at the right time. So, it's out of everyone's way. And I'll tell you what, the Carlisles didn't quite see a season going as long as it did, since it's October right now. Well, I suppose the season would be very much over. Do you reckon the opinions surrounding this particular issue were correct, Robbie? Do you reckon it's right that perhaps Carlisle should have left for the hub, or do you reckon team comes first? Not entirely sure where
I think look, it's his third child. When you get a bit older, mate, Carlisle's 30 years of age. I'm 32. I don't have any kids yet, but as you get older, you understand, times change. And, compared to when I was a decade ago, I think he's made the right decision because I think family, ultimately you play footy to support your family. It's a good lifestyle they've got. They've got great income, great support from the footy club. I think Carlisle's been a good servant of St Kilda, in previous years and this year. And I think he's a family man. And ultimately, he made the right decision. It would have been hard. It would have been bloody hard to leave your teammates, especially after a huge win like that. I suppose you go from the ultimate highs to a pretty neutral feeling. But I think he's made the right decision. But as far as the opinions of Lee Matthews, who come out and said, you shouldn't be conceiving children, in January or whatever, I think, look.
But hang on a sec. Lee Matthews needs to understand, and also Jonathan Brown, I'm pretty sure it was. They timed it perfectly, right? So it would be in October. If this was a normal situation, I mean, it's just one of those things. But I guess, yeah, absolutely. The family first. I guess mantra is the way to go, especially in this case. I suppose Richmond fans can breathe a sigh of relief, but St Kilda fans, I reckon St Kilda fans, the lid is probably off. I've got an uncle and also my cousin, diehard Saints supporters. Looking forward to speaking with them about the game and perhaps after. But I reckon they're up and about. And why wouldn't you be as a Saints fan, especially if you're Cooper Gretsch, mate? Seriously, if you're watching, g'day. Please unblock me on social media. That would be great. Anyway, so the dying question, and one question to wrap this podcast up. If I can get it on my... Come on. There we go. One final question to wrap up this podcast. Are Richmond flag favourites even after losing that game against the Lions? If not, then who? Over to you, Robbie.
One word answer. The answer is no. And the reason behind that is when they beat St Kilda on Friday night, they're going to have to go over to Port Adelaide at Adelaide, right? Do the quarantine. It's going to be a challenge. Earlier in the year, Port Adelaide, I don't think they really played that well, even against an undermanned Richmond. Richmond took it to them for 3 quarters, but really, I think Port Adelaide should have been further in front than they were at 3/4 time. I think we were in front at 3/4 time. It was less than a goal either way, but I generally, I got so much more respect for Port Adelaide. I thought they were going to crumble against Geelong, and Geelong just proved to me yet again they just haven't got leg speed. They had their opportunities, and I'll tell you what, bad kicking's bad footy. You don't take your opportunities, which Geelong didn't, and Port Adelaide did, and they win at home. They're going to be fresh as a daisy coming into the next one. I don't think Richmond's going to really... I don't think they're going to be battered by the Saints. I genuinely believe they're going to have a good win. I'm not just saying that because I've been watching the way the Saints play. Richmond's at a different cog. Richmond's at a different level than the Saints. But I loved what St Kilda done. If there's another side, any side in the AFL who deserves a bit of success at Saints, and I'm wrapped for their supporters that they got a finals win. But I think it will come to a halt here. They're going to hit a brick wall against the might of the yellow and black. And with all due respect to Saints, they've done a great job in recruiting this year. Great job in recruiting their coach, Brent Ratton. Can't take anything away from the St Kilda Footy Club this season, especially this COVID-19 hub scenario. So Port Adelaide are the favourites. I think they've still got Brisbane's measure. I think, Brisbane at the Gabba are going to be hard to beat if they make the granny, no doubt. So I'd say Richmond are equal second favourites along with Brisbane at the moment. But yeah, Port Adelaide would be my favourites. That's honestly, they've been on top from go to woe, from round 1 to round number 18, and they won their first final. So you know what, I'm a believer now. I think Port Adelaide are the real deal.
I think we still had a lot of things to learn as a team in the game against Port Adelaide, and we've had a remarkable victory or two at the Adelaide Oval, particularly I think it was 2018 where Jack Ross debuted, and it was a win in the dying second. So hopefully we can replicate that if we do progress to the prelim final. But yeah, I tend to agree with you, Robbie, on Port Adelaide being premiership favourites. I thought to myself, as Victoria lost the right to host games, I thought, it would rub salt into the wound even more for Victorians, whether in the political class or just everyday Victorian, that it definitely rubs salt into the wound to not only have the game away from the MCG, but also to have a team win that's not from Victoria. Look, I hate to get into the AFL versus VFL debate, but one thing I will say is this is not the VFL, this is the AFL. But at the same time, we're not playing at the G, and the game and the flag is almost certainly to be put away and perhaps in the trophy cabinet at Alberton. Gee, that would be a little bit remarkable if they got to sing "Never Tear Us Apart" on grand final day. I wonder if they'll let them. Gee, I tell you what, expect the unexpected with the 2020 final series. I have no idea how it's going to go, but speaking of how things are going to go, we've just found out that Ben Long's appeal has failed. So at this stage, he will, well, almost certainly
He's going to miss.
play
He can't. Yeah, that's
Richmond.
it.
That's it, I suppose. One player has gone to the nth degree to try and play or to clear their name, but unfortunately, perhaps since it's a Wednesday, I don't think that they can do too much more than that. So
it's final now.
Reasoning to follow. I'm not going to wait for that, unfortunately. So Richmond versus St Kilda on Friday night, a day or less away, depending on when you're watching this, at Metricon Stadium, or as I like to call it, the Metricon Cricket Ground, the MCG of Queensland. Yeah, MCG of Queensland, despite the fact that the Gabba is obviously bigger. They've got the M in Metricon going for them. And by the way, they actually do play cricket at the Metricon Cricket Ground, which is why I like to call that, at 7:50 Australian Eastern Daylight Time, the semi-final of course. So going in form-wise, the Saints have had three wins and 2 losses, but Richmond with the recent loss against the Lions, so we do have form on our side slightly, and it was a good kick up the backside for the team after losing to the Lions. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes. Looking very much forward to dissecting this, but quick thing before we go. If Richmond does win on Friday night, I have in agreement with my associate to my right or left, wherever he is on the screen, Robbie. We're going to call the game between Collingwood and Geelong. We were going to call last week's game between that's right, Port Adelaide and Geelong. We were going to call, but unfortunately we weren't filling up to it. It's been a pretty hectic couple of weeks for the both of us, but I tell you what, we're raring to go if Richmond wins. Otherwise, we're going to be super disappointed. No, not really, because there's been much more disappointing things that have happened in 2020. But look, if Richmond does win, we're looking forward to having your company right here, wherever here is. It's probably going to be on Facebook, on the WSM and JVFT media pages to broadcast our alternate call of Geelong Cats versus Collingwood, sitting 4th and 8th respectively after the home and away season. It's going to be at the G, but the other G, the Gabba. Who do you reckon's going to win that, Robbie?
Collingwood. That's it. That's all. I've already heard
I've already heard the Eddie McGuire, the president of the Pies, pipe up about the white versus black shorts argument, and it'd be interesting to see what Geelong run out in. He doesn't like the clash, and well, neither do I or anyone else I've spoken to. But that's going to be interesting to see. Hopefully, Geelong do follow in on the gentleman's agreement, and since they're not playing at home, I think they should probably honour that gentleman's agreement. Well, that's all the time we have for now. This has been Tiiger Talk. Stick around over the next couple of days or even week as we either prepare to call Geelong versus Collingwood or not and review the season that was for Richmond. Robbie, your final thoughts?
Final thoughts, as I mentioned before, Richmond by 30, Collingwood in a close one against Geelong. Port Adelaide, going to be a challenge once we secure it on Friday night. And for Brisbane, I think they're going to make the grand final. I think if there's any year they're going to make it, this is the year, right? They're going to win one more game at home, a ground they haven't lost at all year. So let's be realistic. It's going to be a Brisbane v. either A, Port or B, Richmond. So take your pick. Those are my three.
At the Gabba, plenty of history. Oh, gee, that would be one of the great grand finals of all time, I think, given the circumstances. Anyway, thanks very much for joining us. I've been Jono Venn. He's been Robert Winstone. This is Tiiger Talk. Catch you very soon.